It's gonna melt in my mouth. It's gonna have a little tang, a little zip, a little zap. I'm gonna get started on some country-style ribs. I'm gonna marinate these ribs in a cola brown sugar marinade. And I'm gonna grill them indoors. So it's gonna have that smoky flavor. It's gonna be sticky and delicious. I'm gonna make a really simple marinade. It's kind of like the marinade that I always make for my ribs. It has some soy sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, some type of vinegar and sugar, but this time I'm gonna add some cola. Now, the cola is going to add more of that caramel flavor, some more of like that molasses, and then that sugar is going to help kind of stick on that rib and make it like a crunchy, sweet coating. My favorite way to eat a rib. I'm going to add some Worcestershire sauce to this, about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to add some soy sauce for some saltiness, a little umami. Right? That's about a cup of soy sauce, a little red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar. That's going to add a little bit more sweetness to this because this is a sweet marinade. Just roughly mince 2 cloves of garlic. Give it a mix. If I had to eat a rib every day, what kind of sauce would I want on it? It would be this. I'm going to save 1 cup of this marinade to make a glaze at the end. All right, put that to the side. Add my ribs in here. So this is called country style ribs because it's cut like a rib, but it's actually a pork loin. Add this marinade. All right, so I'm gonna let this set up in the fridge for a few hours. So these ribs have been marinating and now it is time to grill these bad boys. I'm just gonna add a little salt and pepper on this before I put it directly on the heat. That helps lock in some of that moisture. And a little black pepper. All right, I'm gonna grill both sides, get a nice char on there until it's cooked all the way through. I like to have my pork about 145 in temp. Now I'm putting the side down that I seasoned first. Hit this side with a little more salt and pepper. Ooh, it smells so good already. Remember that cup of marinade that I reserved? I am going to make a glaze with that marinade. I want to mix this with about a tablespoon of cornstarch to help thicken it. Whisk that together. I'm going to turn the heat on and let it cook until it gets like a syrupy consistency. It smells like a barbecue. It smells like a barbecue joint in my kitchen. That glaze is done. It didn't take long at all. I think it's time to flip the ribs. Woohoo! Look at the char on that. Oh, that's beautiful. Now we're cooking. Now we're grilling. I'm ready for some ribs, and these are done. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Looks so good. Okay, put these down right here. Now we got a glaze. How about it?
I got to get these ribs out. Now I'm using a St. Louis style rib, which is different than a baby back, and I'll explain that in just a second. But look at those. And I need some mustard and some dry rub. Now I'm gonna make my own dry rub. A little cayenne, paprika, and cumin will do it. Add it with a little salt and pepper. So put these down. Okay, so a little bit of kosher salt, a little bit of cracked black. There we go. Just a touch of cumin. And you can kind of make a dry rub. You know, professional barbecue teams that are out there competing have kind of like their specialty dry rub that they do for their brisket, for their pork butts. And this is one that I like to use. A little paprika going down. And a little bit of cayenne, just depends on, now I don't want this super hot just on the rub. I want some spice coming out of this cherry glaze, but we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so we get a little bit of the cayenne. So that's there. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap these ribs in some foil in a little bit, but just get the foil out now so I can set the ribs down on it. So some foil there, and I'm gonna wrap them individually. Now, cooking them in the foil for that first hour that they're gonna cook is really gonna get a chance to almost kind of steam them a little bit on themselves, and that'll even make them a little bit more tender, but I'm gonna pull them out of the foil in a bit and let them finish off before I put the glaze on them, okay? Look at these ribs. Beautiful, nice and pink, white fat. Actually, I got a deep bling. There we go. And this is what you want to look for when you go to your butchers. Ask them if they've been denuded, if this silver skin on the back has been taken off. And you'll see it. It's really slick and it's real shiny on the back. If it isn't taken off, when you cook it, the ribs have a tendency to kind of curl up a little bit because it kind of tightens up. But these have already been done. This is great. Okay. There we go. Now, why do I use the St. Louis style rib? Well, the baby back is used in so many different applications. These, I think, are meatier. I think they take a little bit longer to cook. They can get a little bit tougher, but the flavor, that big bone in there, offers so much flavor all over this. Okay, some mustard. This is nice. It helps my dry rub stick a little bit, and it also imparts some flavor, a little bit of that vinegar. But just a little bit of a rub on this side, a little bit of rub on that side. I got things falling all over the place, especially when I have pork and mustard on my hands, I have things falling. Okay, a little bit on that side. See, just a slight amount to it, and then I'll take this dry rub, kind of mix it up, and by hand, sprinkle a little bit on here. And this we're gonna wanna actually rub into, if there's a little crevice between the fat and the bone, we're gonna wanna hit that area, okay? There we go. Rub that in, get it on the sides, and then flip it. And the rub can be real expensive. You know, when we do this in competition barbecue on Motley Q, we make a big tub of this rub, and we have to be sparing with it how we use it. So you'll see that we put it on, rub it, and then see if we can scrape some off the board. All right, look at that. Okay. All right. Rub that around, that around. All right. Okay, now those are all dry rub. Now what I'm gonna do is let them come up to temperature. And what I mean by that is I'll let them come to kind of room temperature before I pop them in the oven. It's gonna help in the cooking process. So that one's down, that one's down. I think I touched this just a second ago. So I'll pull this out here and let me wash up. Okay, now those ribs are gonna go in hot first, and then they're gonna get lowered down. We'll put them up at about 325 for about 10 minutes, then we'll lower them down to about 225 and let them go for about an hour before we unwrap them out of the foil, okay? That's good. Now, let me crank up some heat on this and get started with this cherry glaze. For the cherry glaze, I need an onion, I need a little bit of ginger, and I need some garlic, and a little canola oil. There we go. Now on the onion, what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna saute these together, and then I'm gonna hit it with some cherries in a second. Rough chop on this is gonna be okay. I mean, kind of a dice rough chop. And this was an interesting recipe how I was inspired. I was doing diners, drive-ins, and dives, and I was in Las Vegas, and a guy asked me, I was at one of the locations, the Four Kegs, and he asked if I could make something special for him off his menu. And, well, there wasn't a lot of items I was used to cooking with, but one was cherries. So I took some cherries and some onions and some garlic and kind of put it all together, and this is what came out of it. And this is a little bit of a refined version of it, but it sure worked out well. Okay, onions down, nice and hot. There we go. Let's hit in a little bit of garlic. Always got that fresh garlic. Who do you see that's got a big tub of garlic sitting in front of their cutting board? Except Guy's Big Bite. There we go. Get some garlic down. And a little ginger. And you know my little trick of doing that. Just take the back of the knife, scrape it down. Only need about an inch or two of the ginger. See that? Don't have to break out a whole nother utensil. Okay. And this, just give it a nice little mince. Real fibrous the ginger is, so you got to take some time and make sure you break it down. It's going to be in the sauce, and it'll break down after the time that it sits there and kind of cooks, but we want to give it a helping hand and chop it up. All right. And that's ready to go. And that goes downtown. Okay, little toss. All right. Now, got to grab the cherries. Now, make the dish with fresh cherries if you have them, cherry pie filling if you have them, maraschino cherries. These right here are some nice cherries in a light syrup, and this is exactly what I want to have, a lot of cherries and a lot of syrup, because it's going to reduce down. So I'm going to hit in a little bit of that, and then pour those cherries right in. And I'm almost deglazing with cherry syrup. And put a little salt in there and a little bit of pepper. And these are going to kind of reduce down and make a glaze that I'm putting on these bad boys. So that's fine. Reduce the heat there. So I've dry rubbed them, let them sit out here for a minute. Now what I'm going to do is wrap them up. And I've got a preheated oven up to 325. Okay, so wrap these up tight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook them at 325 for just about 10 minutes. After they do that 10 minutes, I'm going to lower it down to about 225. And the reason is I want to give them a nice shock of heat. Get them started right off the bat, and then lower that heat and go low and slow for about an hour and a half. Okay? After that passes up, we'll take them out of the foil, and let them cook for another hour. Now, after they've done that hour, okay, at 225, I'm going to take them out and slather them in that spicy cherry glaze. So these go down right like that, pronto. 325, and I'll lower them about 10 minutes. Now, on this cherry glaze, wow, look at that. You should smell it. It smells like a pie filling, but it's got a lot of ginger coming through. Well, we're going to make a lot more flavor come standing out. Let's hit it with a little tequila. I know that sounds odd. We deglaze with a little bit of tequila. Now I can start cranking the heat because I was starting to lose all my moisture, but now when I get the tequila in there, I can bring the heat up. A little hot sauce, and this is some of my favorite right here. And we'll put in about a little bit more than a tablespoon, depending on how hot you want it to be. If you want this to be super spicy, you can hit some more in it. Matter of fact, you could even have chopped some jalapeno and put it in there, but the little hot sauce, okay? How about a little soy sauce? I like it for the flavor, a little bit of the saltiness. Okay, about a tablespoon of that. When you think of sweet and sour, when you think of spicy, sweet, sour, this is going to be part of the sour piece, a little sherry vinegar. Okay? There we go. And I'm going to put just a touch of sesame oil. And sesame oil is one of those things, add half of what you think you need, and then if you think you need more later, put some in. But sesame oil has such a strong flavor, I just want to put in just a touch. All right. A lot of big flavor coming out of this now. So what will happen is this will continue to reduce down, breaking down the onion, breaking down the ginger and the garlic and the cherries, and it'll start to make a glaze, kind of a chunky glaze, and that'll work perfect because when I pull those out, lay it over the top, put it under the broiler, and it'll caramelize on top and almost get nice and crisp. Great. All right, I can slow this down a little bit. What I've got in here is some ginger, I've got some garlic, some onions, some cherries in kind of their light syrup. I also hit it with some tequila, some hot sauce, some sesame oil, some soy sauce, and some sherry wine vinegar. Those are the only things that are in here. Okay, so that's cooked down, also a little salt and pepper. That's cooked down and ready to go. Now let's go look at the main part of the show. I got the burner, don't worry. Here it is. First went in at 325 wrapped in tin foil. Spent about 10 minutes, okay? And these are some St. Louis-style ribs I did a dry rub on. Then I took them, lowered them down to 225, and let them hang out for about another hour, hour and a half. Then took them out, unwrapped them, and let them finish for about another hour. And these are still at 225, and take a look at those. Those are beautiful. Did you guys see?
Those
hot pan.
That's it.
My rack, your guys' rack.
Smoking.
What's going to happen now is I'm going to take them off of here. Actually, let me get this out of my way. You'll put that mayo away for me. Take them off of here. Nice and hot. I'm going to cut them into some sections, and I'm going to put them in this dish right here with this. Oh, look at that steam coming off. I'm going to put them in this dish right here with some of this spicy cherry glaze, okay? So these will go down, and then they're going to go back in the oven at 225 with the glaze on them, finish cooking, finish becoming a little bit more tender, but these are already on their way. How is it?
Looking good.
Now, there might look like there's going to be a lot of mayonnaise right there, like it's juicy and wet, but what's going to happen is that pasta will still absorb a little bit of that, so you put a little bit extra. That's why it won't look dry. Okay? There we go. Okay, now these come out, go down, try to stack them. It's okay if they stack a little bit closer together. Usually you don't want them together because they're going to sweat and steam each other, but in this situation we do want it that way. Okay, put this up. Let's get this cherry glaze. Oh, what'd you guys grab, beers?
Of course. Yeah,
cherry glaze right over the top of that. Look at that. Now there'll be some more juice that'll come out of these ribs while they cook. So we will pop them back in the oven. Okay. Looks good. What do you guys think?
That looks fantastic.
It's going to be outstanding. A little
now.
spice. Yeah, well, no, it helps. So these are going to go back in the oven for about another hour. They've been dry rubbed. They've been down in the oven for about 4 hours, and they are looking just outstanding. I'll put these up here and let them cool down a little bit. Now, these ribs have been dry rubbed. Then we made a chili glaze out of cherries and ginger and garlic, and then hot sauce and tequila, all different kinds of things. And then, wow, look at that. These cook for about 4 hours.
Unbelievable.
How's the salad?
Oh,
Good stuff? All right, one rib at a time.
Thank
Please
you.
be nice. Okay, look how tender. Tell me how tender the ribs are.
just comes right off the bone.
Good stuff, fall right
Wow.
off the bone? Is it really,
Great.
it's hot though, I bet.
Not too bad.
When you can bite into it like that, nice cherry flavor to it.
All that flavors together.
You wouldn't
Wow.
expect it.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have to get your napkins ready because I'm showing you the ultimate slather with my garlic and soy sticky ribs.
Ooh, that deserves a round of applause before I
Wow.
even say it.
It's not very Frenchy.
People don't know
made
oven
this for
ribs
me.
are the best ribs.
Wow.
Not very Frenchy. So I'm actually gonna start with the
about it.
rub that's gonna go on the ribs. And
Cookout.
Jeffrey, you are then all dressed in white.
Wait, what was that?
Yeah, that of
Stone
course,
brown mustard?
grainy mustard for the little pop of the seeds with brown sugar, measured salt in this case, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves,
Oh gosh.
just a little,
Yeah.
dry mustard and dry ginger. We're gonna mix all that together. Actually, you're gonna mix all that together.
Almost like a 5-spice vibe.
A little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit,
Vibes out.
but the mustard and the brown sugar, right? And Jeffrey, then I want you to just brush these ribs
With this?
with all this. It's gonna become like a paste.
I already know I'm making this. I know it's just happening.
Yes, and the great thing is, so I already blanched the ribs. I dropped them in boiling water for 2 minutes just to kind of like get them ready so that they get extra crispy. That's one of my favorite things to do. I do it with a whole chicken. I do it with ribs. I just drop it in boiling water for 1 minute, take it out, dry it. You can do it with a duck, and you get that super crispy skin, and that's gonna help. Look at this. Picasso over
And
here.
you're not like cooking it in the boiling water. I mean, you're retaining that flavor and that fat in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeffrey is just, and so we're gonna pop that in the fridge for 6 hours and up to 12. You can just throw them in overnight, even uncovered, honestly, to let them kind of dry out, you know, and get that refrigerator tan. Now we're gonna make the sauce. I'm gonna start with some rice wine vinegar, nice and kind of mild, but some acidity, and then really just hoisin a lot of it.
That is a lot of hoisin.
You know what? It really is, but you know, it's kind of like ketchup.
It does so much work.
Okay, and Dijon.
Oh, there it is, more. More of
Yeah,
that.
well, you know what? So I made this sauce a bunch of times, and I kept adding stuff to it to give it the right body. Do you know what I mean? Apple cider vinegar, soy sauce.
This is
I
all
use the low.
flavors.
This is an umami
It's
bomb,
gonna give us some color too.
and then I
think
use
so.
this soy. I use low sodium soy. I really just generally go to that.
Me too. That's what I use.
A little bit of sesame oil. I feel like we add sesame oil to stuff, but I want to make it work a little bit. So I'm gonna sweat some garlic in the sesame oil.
Make you sweat till you bleed.
Yeah, I want every bit of flavor. And then some crushed coriander seeds. I just cook the garlic just for a minute, roll it. I really just want to toast the coriander until you can smell it.
This is profoundly unusual.
And let the sesame go right into those garlic slices. So when you bite in, you get just a separate taste. And then just drop that right in there.
That is the extra step that you should not neglect. Right?
Absolutely. So after this is cooked for a while,
Oh.
it just gets this wonderful, it gets that texture.
Oh,
where-
wow. It really
wow.
reduces down.
And then
Oh,
What's
a
that?
big scoop of chili crunch.
Is that Calabrian or
There you go.
crunchy chili?
She just throw the whole pantry up in that joint right now.
You're right. You're right. I literally, you can just dump your
Walk
whole
through your pantry, yeah.
Just leave the quinoa behind on
mean-
this. So you see how once this cooks down, all that hoisin and everything just makes this great texture.
Wow.
Shine appeal.
Ribs.
Yeah.
Those are some meaty ribs.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that the transformation from here to here happens in like 25, 30 minutes of just cooking it down on the stove.
J'ai goûté ça.
Tu vas goûter? Okay. Jeffrey's gonna taste.
Excusez-moi.
Jeffrey's gonna taste.
I'm just fascinated by this.
It's nice you can kind of how is it? Is it too salty?
Fascinate me.
Is it too salty?
It's amazing.
it's peculiarly unusual.
Yeah, you said it's peculiar.
No, but to that method of the garlic and coriander, I've never seen that.
Well, it's smart.
And I'm gonna save some of this
Oh, yeah.
for dunking.
Should bottle that. That's
right.
really good.
Maybe like half.
Really
and
good.
then we've got set aside just
Need
what
some
we
more
want to
brushing?
use on the ribs. And I'm starting to
What kind of ribs are these? Did you
These are
specify?
spares, it looks like.
Yeah.
Spares? Okay. Did you trim them, take the skin off and all that?
Well, they're St. Louis
Membrane?
style, so to speak, so it implies all that trimming's been done
Just wanna
exactly.
make sure those.
But I mean, honestly, you could use a whole pork shoulder for this if you
I
didn't
would
feel like
definitely do
doing
that.
ribs. What else could you use?
This is like the best.
Pork shanks, I feel
I mean,
like.
yeah, something low and slow like that.
I'm gonna just cover them with foil because we're really gonna bake them. We're gonna
Oh,
bake them
God.
first,
too
and then we're gonna just take the. You know what? I don't have a block of pecorino and
Says the guy who
6
probably
sprigs of
smokes meat
parsley.
for 10 hours.
It's the beauty of raw ribs. I mean, you gotta treat them right. You gotta
Slow and
take your
low.
time.
Yeah, this is like that paraffin pedicure when they get your feet
Yeah,
in the little
moisture.
bags and
Yep.
they
How long is this gonna cook and what's the temperature?
6 days. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna cook this actually probably for a total of about 3 hours. We're gonna really get into this.
I
'Cause
mean,
these
that's what you
these
gotta
have
do.
to be
You
photo ready. This is hair and makeup,
This is-
okay?
where's my
This is what happens. So I'm gonna bake these at 350 degrees for about an hour and a half. Then I'm gonna take the foil off and bake for another hour and a half. now
look
we're gonna kind of
perfect.
You gotta
sauce them
see the
up.
bone. That's the when you see the bone
The creep
peeking out.
back. The creep back.
Yeah, you know what's up.
Right
it is-
now, can I? Yeah.
Is it hot?
Asbestosy
Now,
fingers.
speaking of picture perfect, like this is the video that you post on Instagram, slicing the ribs, standing them up like that. That's
Yeah.
like such a chefy way to do it.
Look at you
they're not even-
tasting, and they're not even done yet.
Sous chef.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, how's it good halfway through?
Glazed, thank you. So glazed
you.
again, and a little 10-minute like bake, just to dry that sauce out right on the individual ribs. They come out. I just sauced these 1,000 times. I won't lie.
seriously.
I know it's a bit intense,
You
right?
don't need to run the heat in your house if you're cooking this in winter because you're opening that oven.
Now, one last thing, I boiled a little apple cider vinegar and honey
Yep.
with a little fresh ginger.
Oh, shut your mouth.
I'm literally just gonna do this.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
and
start
just
eating.
say
it.
this.
Oh,
Okay.
any plates?
Here's
Can we
sauce.
shut off the oven? Are we good to proceed?
Hold on. No.
All right,
the
I'm in.
plates and the
I'm sorry. I
napkins,
was just
Jeff.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
trying to see my reflection in these sticky ribs here.
I already started. They're
I know Jeffrey's eating.
They're mind-blowing.
6 of them.
I already see the one I want.
I
see
know,
the
I-
one
you
I
want
want
that
too.
one.
Oh, Sonny, you got the one I wanted.
All right.
I love you, Katie.
Oh,
just giving
now
it a
that's,
dunk
that's
here.
love.
Yeah, can you
That
dunk?
is love.
Yep. I'll take
You and I always want the same one.
We do, because we know the good
Sesame.
bite. Ooh, look at that.
comes
Get it?
out now for some
Oh my
wild reason.
gosh, Alex. Oh,
Is
gosh.
there enough sauce?
Yeah, but I'll take some more.
Wow.
Listen,
Stop the presses.
The
This
vinaigrette.
is a really good
Vinegar.
sauce.
this is
You said nutmeg?
Clove.
close.
Clove? I want more. This is delicious.
These are insane.
Like the hoisin's banging in here, the coriander's popping in your mouth, the mustard seeds. It's not cloyingly overly sweet. You know what I mean? It's so balanced.
That clove is working.
In the texture,
Wow.
it's just addictive. You get that kind of
Coriander.
mahogany lacquer on the outside combined
Lacquer.
with this. It's mahogany lacquer. There's
Yeah.
nothing else I could say. I don't know if I'm looking at like, you know,
We're not worthy.
you know, a stained deck or a bookshelf
So good.
in my lawyer's office. Foolproof if you follow these steps. You know what I mean by that? Like you did this all in the oven, but it tastes like it was done outside. Oven ribs is where it's at. I am
I
a
agree with you.
convert.
I agree with you.
I'm going to start with the brown sugar rub. I added 3/4 of a cup of really packed brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 big tablespoons of paprika. This is a super flavorful rub and a super colorful one too. I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of cayenne just to add a little spice. And then I'll add 2 teaspoons of black pepper, and then about half a cup of fresh orange juice, and of course, minced garlic. Now I'll whisk this together and make sure it's all mixed. Okay, the rub is all stirred together. So I'm gonna add the ribs in. I just cut 2 racks of ribs into 2 rib pieces. It's kind of nice to cut them up and get the messy work done. You don't have to worry about getting them on a board and cutting them when they come out of the oven. Now I'll get them all in there. Okay, I'm gonna get my tongs in there and just toss these around. Now I'm gonna make it easy by lining a big sheet pan with foil, and I'm gonna get the ribs right on the foil, And I'm gonna gather them up in a parcel and bake them that way. First of all, it won't dirty up the pan. Second of all, it'll seal all the juices and moisture in and let those ribs get nice and tender. I like this marinade so much, I'm gonna pour some of the extra over. Now I'll gather up both sides. All right, I'm gonna bake the ribs at 325 degrees for 2 hours. The ribs are just about ready, and I'm gonna make the pineapple relish to go over the top. I'm using fresh pineapple. I'll put that into a bowl with some beautiful red onion, and then of course some fresh jalapeno. I've got some fresh cilantro. Now I've got a lime, which is always essential for any kind of salsa or relish. I'm gonna start by zesting in some of the zest. That should be good. And then I'll squeeze in the juice. I think I'll go in with all of it. I'm gonna add a little bit of honey. Anytime I make pineapple relish or salsa, I always kind of wish it were a little bit sweeter. That's where the honey comes in. Then just a little bit of chili powder, a little bit of salt. Now I'm gonna finish off the ribs. I'll take them out of the oven and put them on the cooktop while I crank up the broiler. Meantime, I'll open the foil cap, and oh, that smell is so wonderful. They look delicious already. I'll just push the foil flat to expose the ribs and put them under the broiler. A couple of minutes is all it takes to caramelize them.
We're making ribs, baby back ribs with a ranch dry rub. First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make this ranch rub. Now, for the rub, I have a half cup of dry buttermilk. To that, I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of dried parsley, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dill powder. These are all the things that are in ranch. 2 teaspoons of dried chives, 1 teaspoon of onion flakes, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. So this is the base for this ranch rub. So we whisk this together. So, all right, here is now my rib rub. To the rib rub, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of kosher salt and about a tablespoon of coarse ground black pepper. On the back of these ribs, we need to take the silver skin off. So you just grab a towel, and you could see it's coming up, and you just pull it, and it pulls right off. And that's garbage, no need for it. If you leave the silver skin on, the smoke can't really get in there. I'm just gonna sprinkle all the way across here with my rub on both sides. The ribs have a little bit of natural moisture, which is gonna help this adhere, and that's what we want. If they feel very dry to you, you could always give them a little spritz with a little bit of cider, or even water, or rub them with the lemon. So we have the ranch rub on the ribs. Now I'm gonna get my grill ready. The first hour is the ribs unwrapped. They're gonna start the smoking procedure. The internal temperature of the rib is gonna get to about 140 degrees, which is when it stops taking on smoke in the meat. The second hour, we're gonna wrap the ribs in foil. We're gonna let them continue to go. The third hour, we're gonna unwrap the ribs, spritz them with a little bit of pickle juice so some of that smoke could stick to the exterior of the meat, and then the ribs will be done. So I have my grill set up with indirect heat. So all my coals are in the back. There are no coals on the front. And to the grill in the pit, I'm gonna add a little bit of water because we need some moisture floating around in there. Now we're gonna take our 2 slabs of ribs, bone side down. So this lid goes down. We're gonna maintain about a 325 degree temp. We could adjust our vents on top and the bottom to do that. For 1 hour, we're gonna let these go before we wrap them in foil. They've been cooking for 1 hour at 325 uncovered, and these are a third of the way cooked. So I'm gonna wrap them in foil, which is gonna help them cook a little faster and
But you don't care about that smoke anymore, so
I don't care about the smoke
can wrap.
anymore, and it's gonna retain some moisture. They've been cooking for another hour in the foil. And they're getting pretty tender now. You can see they're starting to kind of, that's what we're looking for. They're starting to bend. So now this last kind of run with them, we're gonna spritz them with a little bit of liquid. What I love to do is you take pickles. So I only have one pickle left, but I have a lot of pickle juice. But pickle typically has salt, vinegar, sugar, and some good spices. So you just take a sprayer and you put the sprayer in your leftover pickle juice and you spray your ribs with the pickle juice.
That is a hilarious tip.
And then we're gonna close the lid. These are gonna continue to cook. They're gonna take on some of that exterior smoke. And then look at these ribs. So I just took them off. And you can see how they start shrinking down the bone a little bit? That's a good sign that they are tender and ready to go. And as I pull them back, they start to gently pull away. And then I always cut from the backside. You see the bone, you go right in between each bone.
All right, how's the rib?
Well, one, the rib is cooked pretty good. The meat is coming up, but it's not completely falling off the bone. That's what you want with the rib. And I gotta tell you, the ranch rub is super yummy.
I'm making my famous sticky ribs. They're tender and sweet, and they get finished on the grill with some great char marks. To start, I'll make my spice blend. I'll grab a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Around here, we like our ribs extra sweet. And I'll spice it up with a teaspoon each of paprika, which will give a little smokiness, onion powder, which just adds loads of flavor, garlic powder, and chili powder, which will add a tiny bit of heat, but just a tiny bit. I'll also add 2 teaspoons of kosher salt and some black pepper. I'll mix this to combine, and now I'll grab my ribs. I've got a rack of baby back ribs, which have come to room temperature. This allows them to get more tender and soak up all the flavors in the seasoning. So I'll rub these all over with my blend. I'll flip them over and cover the other side. These are looking so good. I'm smelling that chili. These are ready for the oven. I'm gonna cover them up with my foil, which will allow them to steam and get really tender. It'll also catch any of the juices that come out of the ribs because I'm gonna add those juices to the barbecue sauce, and that's gonna add even more flavor. I'll stick these in the oven now at 300 for 2 hours until they're tender, and when they're done, I'll finish them on the grill, and they are gonna be ridiculously good. I just had to finish up my ribs. They've been baking low and slow for 2 hours in their juices, and they smell incredible. I have a good feeling about this. I'm gonna get them out of the foil. Oh yeah, they look excellent. They smell so meaty and smoky and sweet. Okay, I'm gonna transfer these to a cutting board. Now, I don't want to get rid of any of these juices. There is so much flavor in here. I'm gonna pour the juices into my barbecue sauce. And this is just store-bought barbecue sauce, but punching it up with the meat juices makes it 20 times more awesome. Now, I'll chop up my ribs. Oh, they're so tender. They are just falling off of the bone. Look at that. It's looking good. It's feeling really soft. And when I finish these on the grill, they're gonna get some crisp char marks all over. They'll kind of get a shell. I'm gonna brush this onto my ribs now. This is gonna add even more flavor. And when these go on the grill, the sauce is gonna caramelize on the grill and get crisp and sticky. These are gonna be so good. Okay, let me grab a plate. Now you could finish these in the broiler to get a crisp exterior, but I'm gonna bundle up and get these on the grill.
Oh yeah, these are perfect. These are ready to eat. I'll get these off the grill. All right, you guys, come on, let's eat.
Listen, I love ribs. I think everybody does. Even when the ribs are bad, I still love the ribs, all right? Now, maybe you don't have a smoker. Maybe you only have an oven. Maybe you don't even know what's going on with the world of ribs. Now, you got your baby backs, you got your St. Louis, you got your beef ribs. I'm gonna take you through one of my favorite recipes, and you're gonna dig this. Baby back ribs. Now, baby back ribs are kind of the premium in ribs. It's meaty, it's fatty, and what makes it really delicious is when you go low and slow. But I'm gonna teach you a different way to do it, okay? We're gonna go Argentinian style. So what we're gonna do is gonna throw these on a skewer, hit them with a little salt and pepper. We're gonna let them go on the rotisserie. They're gonna get tender, but they're gonna have this really fantastic bark, this really nice crust, this caramelization that's gonna go on. If you don't have rotisserie, don't worry, you can still do this in the oven. Let's start first things first. Fresh cracked black pepper, all right? Now, if you go and look in your cabinet right now and you find that you have black pepper that has been pre-ground, when was it pre-ground, who pre-ground it, and where was that done? This is the key. Hold tight. I recommend a really good spice grinder. And don't cross-utilize your spice grinder, by the way. Don't have the spice grinder that you also use for your coffee, because I'll tell you a little story. I came back from barbecue camp. Yes, there was such a thing back in the day. And I came back and took the spice grinder, put all these chili de árbol in it, ground them all up, made this great rub for these ribs I was doing. And the next day, Lori made some coffee, and she's like, oh my gosh, I think the coffee's poison. Well, because all the residual oil of the chili de árbol was still inside of it. So have one that you just do for your spices. So look at that grind. Okay? And this is one of the things I talk about. Come here, take a look. See how it's almost kind of grayish brown? You can smell it right now, all that essence. This is truly the key to making these ribs so fantastic, is having some really great ground black pepper, okay? So we'll start off with some kosher salt. Know your salt, have a really good relationship with your salt. Not all salt's the same, so get a type of salt that you like to work with and stick with it, and then you'll know your sodium levels, okay? Now we go with the cracked black pepper. And you can see how liberal I am with this. I mean, I'm really throwing it on. I know it looks like it's a little heavy right now, but a couple things are gonna happen. One, some's gonna fall off. Two, a lot of it's gonna be absorbed. And three, you've got a lot of meat and a lot of bone going in this probably 2.5 pound rack of ribs, okay? A little more black pepper down. In this dish, the critical success factor is this black pepper, okay? You can't cut the corner. You can't say, well, I don't have a spice grinder, I can't make it work. Get a blender. Do whatever you have to do. I mean, hit it with a shoe, but make sure that you have the cracked black pepper, okay? We'll flip it over. A lot of time we'll take the silver skin out here, but this, with going on the rotisserie, with trying to hold it together, I want to retain a little moisture, and you can talk to any barbecue expert. There are some that do it, some that don't. This time, I'm not taking it out. A little more salt. Okay, a little more cracked black pepper. Now, if you have the chance to let this set up like this for a few hours before you go to the rotisserie, do it. But it's not like you're gonna lose out if you don't. Rub that in, get some on the sides right there. So rotisserie is this kind of crazy thing. We're gonna use centrifugal force to keep the fat that is rendering off of the meat, continuing to baste the meat as it goes. So you go to the grocery store and you love getting yourself the rotisserie chicken. Why is it so good? Exactly that reason. So here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go through one rib to secure it. I'm gonna go through another rib and just kind of weave it through as easy as you can without it, without poking yourself. Not all ribs are created equal, and I really don't want to poke myself with that. Come on, there we go, okay? Different types of rotisseries, different types of skewers, but you get the general idea right here. There's one. This is definitely when I like to have Hunter here at the ranch. This is Hunter's job right now, but I'm out here doing this for you. I hope you really are enjoying this. Hey, come on, watch this. Guy Fieri's really struggling on this, on getting these ribs into this. So now let's talk about what we're gonna go take it to. We're gonna go take it to a charcoal grill. We used to have a gas barbecue at the house, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm as guilty as anybody else. I love gas barbecues. They're simple, they're quick, you boom, you turn it on, here it goes, we're gonna grill something off. But what you lose is you lose that radiant heat. You lose that extra flavor. So for the little bit of time that it takes to get a chimney, put some charcoal on it, put some paper underneath, or come to a burner like this and fire it up. For that little bit extra time that it takes, I gotta be honest with you, the flavor difference, the sear difference, the overall barbecue experience is, I really believe, double. So that's what we're using right now. So I got some regular charcoal. All right, so what I've got in here, I started off with the regular charcoal, and then just to perfume this a little bit, and also to add some heat, I threw the hardwood in there. And this is some oak, actually oak that we have here at Hunt Ride Ranch. I've got this set up. You're gonna have all different types of rotisseries, and like I said, if you don't have the rotisserie, don't worry, okay? You can do this in the oven. You're not gonna get quite the sear. You can put a little broil at the end of it to get some of that nice, crispiness on top of the ribs. But right now, this is super easy. We'll take this, drop it in the rotisserie. Hopefully we're on. Hang on, it gets better. There we go. See, this isn't so perfect. This is just you and me hanging out. So this is exactly what it takes. I thought I had it plugged in. Anyhow. So I'm going to start this first one. We're going to get it rolling. And this Carson rotisserie, these guys make the bomb rotisserie. They make one of these that's actually in a suitcase. I don't know if they still make them, but I have one that's a portable one. I'm going to go to that side. That's it. I got to watch my flame. I got to watch the height. I got to see how these are cooking. While these are going, let's go make some chimichurri. Next time you're grilling chicken breast or lamb or fish, try making this chimichurri. We're gonna have the acid, we're gonna have the salt, we're gonna have a little bit of the sweet. You're gonna dig it. All right. We're gonna start off with a little red bell pepper. Just give it a quick chop. You make this, if you help this out a little bit and give it a chop before you put it in the food processor, you'll be a lot happier with the result, because if you put in this big piece like this, by the time I break this down, everything is paste. And that's not what we want. We want to make sure that we have a little bit of texture to this. Okay, so a little white onion. There we go. Garlic, however much you like. I'm always a little garlic heavy. A little of that fresh cracked black pepper. Herbs. Herbs are super key in this. I'm telling you, and fresh herbs. So if the herbs aren't looking great, you're not making chimichurri. Remember that. It's always dictated off of what are the ingredients you have to what you're gonna make. I get my heart set on things just like anybody does. Like, oh, you know, we gotta have this. You go to the grocery store, they don't have it. Brussels sprouts, we're a big Brussels sprout family. But if you go and the Brussels sprouts are 10 bucks a pound, tonight's not Brussels sprout night, okay? Some fresh basil. This is out of the garden up here. Some fresh parsley, and a little bit of oregano. Again, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a chop. Actually, I need a little more parsley. Parsley is really kind of the key on this. And it's all right that you have the stems, don't worry about it. And you see what I'm storing my herbs in? See that I'm storing in that jar with a little bit of water in the bottom? That's the best way to keep them fresh. You go ahead and leave them in that bag and put them in your fridge and let them sit down there in that crisping drawer. And then in 2 days, you're gonna have yourself just a big, wilted, soggy mess. All right? Fresh herbs. Let's get in a little bit of red wine vinegar, a little bit of acid with that, and some limes. Give the limes a little roll. I know you see us do this all the time. It really does kind of open them up. And you know what I really want to do? Hang on one second. I want to get a little lime zest in here. Watch that technique right there. Push, turn it back, push, turn it back, push, turn it back. And if you've done it the right way, it's almost made a complete loop all the way around it, okay? Then we're not getting too far down into the pith. I know, it's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, but you'll get it after a while. Okay, little lime juice. Again, where the kids. Okay, so about a, I don't know, quarter cup of lime juice. You gotta really kind of check this also and see where it's at for you, because if it's a little too acidic, add a little more of that red bell pepper. Just kind of take its time. And also, you know, the real key to this is letting this rest a bit. Letting this go for maybe 2 hours. So that's what we're gonna do. We got the ribs on first, which was key. That, touch of some olive oil. Just a pulse. I like my chimichurri a little bit on the rustic side. Touch of salt. A lot of moisture in those veggies are gonna come out from that salt and from the acid. Just pulsing it. I wanna have some texture. Look at that, beautiful. That was dynamite. Exactly where I want it. This is only gonna get better with a little bit of time. And if you had to make this right now and serve it to your family, don't get me wrong, they would love it. But if we have a little bit of time, let's let it rest. So, chimichurri's done, ribs are rolling, come back in 2 hours, put it together. See you in a bit. That's what I'm talking about right there. Argentinian ribs. I mean, this is about as real deal as they get. I just want you to look at this. It's a little bit different texture, okay, than low and slow. I think they're gonna have a little more moisture to them. But these right here, when you get into this, just look at how juicy, but look at the crust. Look at the bark on the outside of that. Salt and pepper. Oh my gosh, that's good. It's succulent, it's juicy, it's still meaty, it's not burned, I mean, if that doesn't look delicious, I don't know what you're thinking. We grabbed some of that chimichurri. Oh, you can tell I don't love it. It's one of our go-to recipes here at the ranch. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy, and like I said, if you don't have the rotisserie, don't worry about it, you can go to the oven. The key is that salt, that fresh cracked black pepper, delicious, fatty, meaty pork ribs, and this tangy, supportive, delicious chimichurri going along with it. You want it fast, you want it quick, you want it easy, I brought it to you. Hope you dig it, make it. Tell me what you think, send me a message. Adios.
Lad has his own ranch and his brother Tim has his own ranch, but they always help each other, especially when things get busy. Summer is the busiest time of the year on a cattle ranch, and the hay operation is one of the main reasons for that. Both families are over at Tim's today hauling hay, and my contribution is making a big old meal for both families when they get done. The main course for dinner is going to be a big batch of sticky, spicy ribs. They're going to go into the slow cooker, get nice and sticky and glazed. Now, I've just been salting and peppering the ribs. These are just regular pork spare ribs. I've used baby back ribs for this before, and they turn out great too. Now I'll whip up the sauce, which is going to turn into the sweet, sticky, spicy glaze. It starts with 2 jars of apricot preserves. I happen to love sweet, sticky ribs. It's just the way I grew up eating ribs, and preserves is the perfect way to introduce the sticky factor. And then 2 cups of ketchup. It just gives it a great tangy quality, nice and rich tomato flavor. Now about 1/2 cup of soy sauce. This is a great savory way to offset all the sweetness. 1/2 cup of yellow mustard. You can also use Dijon mustard. Really, I wish Bryce and Todd were here. They would have loved that moment. What I was saying was any kind of mustard will do. It's fun to have boys. And then a few dashes of hot sauce, of course. I need a little more spice than that. So I chopped up some chipotle peppers, one of my favorite ingredients on earth, along with a ton of chopped garlic, minced really fine, and another favorite ingredient of mine, chopped fresh ginger. I never take fresh ginger for granted because sometimes I can't get it at my store in Pawhuska. And if you can't get fresh ginger, you really, really miss it. There is nothing like it in the world. This is a pretty crazy looking concoction, but I promise you, it is so delicious. There are so many flavors going on. Love this stuff. Now it just gets poured over both slow cookers of ribs. You know, I didn't grow up using a slow cooker. My mom didn't really use one that much. But on a hot summer day like this, it's really nice for things that need to cook for a long time. I don't want to have the oven on for several hours today. It's just too hot outside. Okay, get the lids on, turn on the slow cookers. The ribs are going to cook for about 3.5 hours until they're nice and tender. They are really tender, I can tell. I've just been putting them on sheet pans, and now I'm gonna move forward with the really sticky glaze. The sauce is delicious as it is, and actually you could just go ahead and eat the ribs as they are now. But as I said, I really like that stickiness all over the ribs. So I'll transfer the sauce into a pan. Oh, the sauce smells so good. I smell that ginger. I love fresh ginger. You know, if you want to, you can just leave the racks of ribs whole, wrap them in foil, and put them in the oven for 3.5 hours. I'm actually glad they haven't been in the oven all this time. The house is still nice and cool. Now I'm gonna turn the heat on the stove, and I made a little bit of a cornstarch slurry. It's just cornstarch and a little bit of water, and I'll pour it right into the sauce, and that's gonna give the glaze a real stickiness. The sauce is kind of loose as it is now, and the cornstarch will just make it really stick to those ribs. I've got these ribs that have been baking in the oven. These look amazing. The glaze is getting nice and thick. All right. They need another coating. You know, if you want a really sticky, thick glaze on ribs, you really have to baste them as they're baking in the oven. It's the only way to really get it adhered to the surface. Now I'm gonna brush another big coat on, and then they'll go back into the oven for another 30 minutes, and I'll brush them once more halfway through.
The dirty little secret about my foolproof ribs is they're actually cooked in the oven until they're falling off the bone and absolutely delicious. And then at the last minute, I throw them on the grill and they get that really charred flavor. They're so good and they're so easy to do. So for the barbecue sauce, I'm starting with 1 onion that I sauteed in vegetable oil. I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic. Just cook it for a minute because you don't want to overcook the garlic. 1 cup of tomato paste. It's got a lot of ingredients, but frankly, a lot of them you probably already have in your pantry. 1 cup of cider vinegar, a little acidity in this. 1 cup of honey. It actually adds a little sweetness, and then it'll caramelize on the grill. 1 cup of Dijon mustard. It's a lot, I know. 1 cup of hoisin sauce. That's the start of the Asian ingredients. 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. 1/2 cup of soy sauce. You still with me? 2 tablespoons of chili powder. That's 1 and 2. 1 tablespoon of ground cumin. Just gives great flavor, really depth of flavor. And a little bit of heat, 1½ teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes. You want it to be a little hot, right? I'm just gonna bring that to a boil, mix everything together, and let it simmer for 30 minutes. All those flavors are just gonna deepen and get absolutely delicious. They're gonna be so good with the ribs. The barbecue sauce is ready. Time to make the ribs. I use St. Louis ribs, and I find them perfect. They have a lot of meat on the bone, and they're not too big to handle. Okay, so that's 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper. I just season the meat side, not the bone side. And now I'm just gonna slather it with barbecue sauce. So big ladle. I always use aluminum foil underneath it so it's easy to clean up, because these are good and messy. So now I'm gonna cover them loosely with foil, 350 degrees for 1 hour and 45 minutes until the meat is falling off the bone. Whoa, don't those look fantastic? So at this point, I put on a little more barbecue sauce because I think it really needs it. And this is gonna really caramelize on the grill, get that nice barbecue flavor. Okay, and the rest of it, I'm gonna pour into a dish and take outside for dipping once they're all done. Okay, I've got the ribs, I've got the sauce. See you at the grill. I'm just gonna brush it with oil just to make sure the ribs don't stick. Just extra precaution. Whoa, that's a little more exciting than I thought. Okay, let's grill these ribs. I'll place them on the grill, rib side down. Put the lid on with the vents open and grill them for 5 minutes. Then take the lid off, turn the ribs meat side down, put the lid back on, and cook them for another 5 minutes. Oh, wow, look how delicious and perfectly browned these are. So I'll put them on a board, cover them tightly with aluminum foil, and let them rest for 10 minutes. These look fantastic. I only wish you could smell them. This looks so good. They're meaty, they're flavorful, they're tender. You know what? Once I stopped incinerating ribs on the grill and started roasting them first and then barbecuing them, there's no going back.
So how about you throw me about, I don't know, a cup of vinegar in there, a cup of apple cider vinegar.
Here we go.
Get some water in here. How'd it do? Sometimes I just have to take the lid right off that thing. That's 1. That should be about 3/4 of that bottle, Terry. Okay. Let's go ahead, throw that in. I'll get a little bit of garlic. We'll do a rough chop on this. So it's apple cider vinegar, water, some salt, some pepper, and that's going to take care of it. Matter of fact, you want to grab the ribs. There's some baby backs in there. Now, when you go to your butcher, you can ask him to take that silver skin off the back of those baby back ribs, and that's one so that you can kind of, get that flavor of the marinade in there. And also, when the ribs cook, they don't tighten up. That silver skin doesn't tighten up and make them kind of curl up on the barbecue. We've all seen that, right? Okay. Let me get right over here from you.
You bet.
Little compost. You do compost in there at your joint?
I don't at the joint, but I do it in my brother's garden.
Okay, so what we do, kind of wrap them up, make sure that everybody's submerged down in the liquid.
Where's your compost pile?
Compost right in there.
Alrighty.
Okay. Now, you want to go ahead and grab that ginger and knock off about a tablespoon of ginger, but I want you to take the skins off it.
You got it.
Okay, there we go. Now, these are wrapped up. Actually, no, I'll just leave these out here. These are only going to be about 15 minutes. So you take the back off of that. I'll hit a little bit of this garlic. Now, I've got the serrano and the onion down first. Why? I want to kind of sweat them a little bit. If I throw this garlic in too early, well, it has an opportunity to burn, and we know when garlic burns, it doesn't taste right. The garlic goes in. I'm great. Throw it right in. Nice. Okay? There we go. Deglaze this with a little bit of cider vinegar. You always got to have vinegar. This has got some of the main ingredients that you have in a regular barbecue sauce and a little gaified with things like raspberry jam. So we'll put a little bit of that down. Get a couple cups of these raspberries in. Hey, Terry, you want to grab the corn out? Let's go ahead and start getting this on.
Sure thing.
We'll get some raspberries down. A couple tablespoons of molasses, because that's, again, a barbecue sauce. A little bit of chipotle peppers. In some adobo sauce. So the smoked jalapeno pepper in some of the spicy vinegar tomato sauce that goes with it. So now I'm going to take these ribs, shake them off a little bit. I'm going to put a little char on them indoors, okay? Then what's going to happen, put them in this pan with a little beer and some onion and some garlic, tent it and throw it in the oven and let it go kind of, well, I won't call it low and slow, but I'll let it kind of go for a while. And check that out. Now, I grilled them on top here, and now I'm going to hit them with a little bit of this barbecue sauce, but let me find a spoon. So we got some raspberry preserves, we got some vinegar, and then we've got some frozen raspberries. So we got all those great flavors, raspberry, and then the chipotle pepper that has got a little of the adobo to it. Look at that. There's some molasses, all the key components that you need to good barbecue sauce. Okay, 300 degrees, about an hour and a half. There we go. A serving of some ribs. Now, check this out. These are a brined rib that we did with some vinegar and then hit them with, you're going to love the barbecue sauce, a little chipotle pepper and some raspberry preserves.